and welcome back. Today we're gonna speak about pollution and its impact. We're gonna focus on Europe and US, but I also discuss about the rest of the world. So the urban air pollution, primarily from traffic, industry, and construction, causes over 4 million premature deaths annually. About 90%, 97% of cities in low and middle income countries have unsafe air quality with fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, and nitrogen dioxide, NO2, being the primary culprits. And only about 17%, maybe 20% at most of cities surveyed worldwide meet the World Health Organization standards. So let's see what are the causes for that and what we can do about it. So the key pollution sources are obviously vehicles. So the traffic congestion in many big cities is a major source of nitrogen oxides and fine particulates. Then we have the industry and energy, as the coal burning power plants and industrial facilities are significant contributors to pollution. Then obviously there's construction. So dust and cement from construction and demolition of previous buildings before constructing new ones, along with maybe waste from public works, contributes heavily to pollution. And of course, last but not least, the residential pollution, so the households heating and cooking with solid fuels. As we've said, the top pollutants are the PM 2.5 and PM 10 particles. That problem with these particles is that they go deep into the lungs. And then you have the NO2 or nitroxide dioxide, which is primarily from road transport, so from the combustion engines. And then you have a few others like ozone, O3, and sulfur oxides, SOx, formed in the atmosphere from other pollutants. If we consider the health and demographic impact, the mortality causes more than 4 million premature deaths by year. I think the 2019 data, which I'm looking at, states 4.2 million premature deaths per year. So that's quite a lot. Then, obviously, there are a lot of diseases. So they lead to heart disease, strokes, chronic pulmonary disease, and lung cancer. If we look at the vulnerable population, the urban population in special, we're thinking about the children, the elderly, and people with respiratory diseases like asthma. They are the most affected. And on the urban growth, the rapid urbanization in Asia and Africa is also concentrating pollution in densely populated areas. Now you'll ask me, okay, what are the solutions to this? Solutions or maybe ways to mitigate the pollution. So this could be either improved transportation, so moving away from personal internal combustion cars toward public transport, electric mobility, and cycling. And unfortunately, that's a problem in many big cities, and the local authorities need to put more pressure and restrictions because otherwise, many people won't simply renounce their cars. Because yeah, being lazy or being easier to just use their cars and cause pollution rather than take the public transport. Then the urban planning is very important to implement green spaces, pedestrian areas to prioritize, as I've said, the public transport and reduce the traffic in city centers. So try to keep the traffic to push it away from the center of the cities. Regulations, as I've said, are very important to enforce stricter dust reductions protocols, maybe in constructions, in the building sites. And obviously, the most important one is the monitoring. So to make sure that people are really, um, I mean, these measures are really enforced by using real-time data to identify, map, and address localized pollution sources. Now, if we take a look at what are the top 10 polluted cities, if we're talking about the world, most of them are in Asia, around India, Pakistan, China. But if we primarily think of Europe, let's say the most polluted cities in Europe are primarily concentrating in specific geographic regions. So in Europe, we are thinking about Turkey and the Balkans. In US, it's generally California, Central Valley. Um, for Europe, if you look at the top polluted cities, the pollution in Europe is highest in the east and southeast due to a very heavy reliance on solid fuels and the aging infrastructure. So we are thinking about this area. Uh, if we are thinking about the primary pollutant as PM particles, the top polluted cities are Igdir in Turkey, then Izmir in Turkey, Novi Pazar in Serbia, Gornji Milanovic also in Serbia, and Prijedor in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And the primary causes for the pollution on these cities is one is the residential heating, so burning coal and food and wood for home heating is the leading cause. Then the industrial emissions, large coal-fired power plants and manufacturing in Eastern Europe, the aging vehicle fleets, so people driving older and older um, diesel vehicles with fewer emission controls, and then the topography, which also plays an important role because cities in valleys like Sarajevo or Krakow suffer from temperature inversion that trap the smog at ground level. Now, if we go across the Atlantic Ocean and take a look at the US pollution, as mentioned, this is dominated by California, and there's a unique combination of heavy industry, traffic, and also geographic traps, this topography cause. So here the top polluted cities, again in terms of PM particles, we can mention Bakersfield, Visalia, Fresno, Los Angeles, all of them in California, and Phoenix in Arizona. But in Phoenix, it's more like high ozone and dust. Uh, the primary causes reside in geography. So the San Joaquin Valley is surrounded by mountains that trap pollutants from across the state, and it's harder for the winds to dissipate them. Then you also have wildfires, increasingly frequent and severe. They add massive smoke loads to the annual averages. Then it's the transportation with heavy truck traffic on major freight corridors and dense passenger vehicle use. And of course, the agriculture and the industry with dust storms in West Texas, for example, El Paso, and then intensive farming or oil extraction in California. So all of them contribute to pollution, and yeah, unfortunately, um, measures to mitigate that are not easily found. It's a combination of factor of um, convincing people to change their behavior in the way that maybe they drive, the cars they own, the activities, but it's also a problem of geography and topography, which is yeah, not possible to mitigate. Okay, guys, thank you for listening.